Watching someone set fire to their 7-figure per year career is crazy, but here we are. Today we are talking about De'Vondre Campbell. You remember him, right? The 49ers linebacker who quit on his team as he refused to play in the Week 15 Rams game. Got called out not just by his own teammates, but also by sports media at both the local and national level across the country. Yup, we're talking about that guy, who I had already forgotten about until he recently took to Twitter to double down on his arrogance and indignance. And man, this one's a doozy. In terms of the full-on crash-out tweets that he fired off, I'm going to summarize them for the sake of time, but buckle up. He essentially says, "I know the truth and don't care to clear anything up. Anybody got a problem with me, either Twitter trolls or my former 49er teammates, come see me. That includes the media too. I'm rich and never have to work another day in my life. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch begged me to come to San Francisco. They get mad when they can't successfully troll you. Can't get under my skin. I just tweet, log off, and y'all stay mad." Wow. The narcissism is strong in this one. Before we break down this mess, let's set the scene, shall we? A year ago, in Super Bowl 58, Chiefs versus 49ers, one of the staples for the San Francisco defense, Dre Greenlaw, tore his Achilles. Suffering a major injury such as a torn Achilles at literally the end of the season guarantees for that player that you will miss most of, if not all of, the following season. In the meantime, for the 49ers, the following offseason, they had to fill the void that Dre Greenlaw left behind at the linebacker position, with him having to undergo a lengthy rehab process. They did so by signing 8-year veteran De'Vondre Campbell. And on the surface, that was a solid insurance policy. Good player, former first-team All-Pro linebacker. Filling in for Greenlaw the first 13 games, though, De'Vondre Campbell was not great. All things considered, the Niners certainly could have done worse, but Campbell struggled with missed tackles. He had the second worst missed tackle rate of his career, and for a professional football linebacker, that is bad. And then Week 15 comes along. Must-win game for the 49ers in order for their playoff hopes to stay alive versus the Los Angeles Rams. Thursday Night Football. Dre Greenlaw, he is healthy. He is ready to go. He is back in action. He gets the start, leaving De'Vondre Campbell to come off the bench. That game, Greenlaw develops some soreness in his knee and Achilles and has to leave the game. Coaches call Campbell in to replace Greenlaw on the field, and not only does Campbell not take the field, he left the sideline and headed to the locker room mid-game. So, just to summarize, player who was signed to be a temporary fill-in pouts when the temporary timeline has run its course, and when suddenly the fill-in player is needed again, fill-in player decides not to do what he literally signed a contract to do. Sounds like a teenager in their first job, not understanding the importance of professionalism, except here, we're not talking about a teenager. We're talking about a 31 going on 32-year-old grown-ass man. Amazing. Got ripped to shreds by his teammates George Kittle and Charvarius Ward, and now we are going to break down De'Vondre Campbell's response, breaking the silence after 2 months. He goes after people on Twitter, calling him out for quitting on his team, which is the ultimate sin in professional sports. But two things here. The people calling out De'Vondre Campbell on Twitter are right. He will be forever remembered for being a quitter. And I would say that he'll also have to forever wear the coat of shame, but for him, clearly, he has no shame. And luckily for him, he never has to explain himself in public, because without a helmet and a jersey on, literally nobody knows who he is. And it's not like he'd ever cross paths with a stranger on the street and that stranger would stop dead in his tracks and be like, "Oh my God, are you De'Vondre Campbell?" Nobody's going to do that. And say he's at a bar and a stranger strikes a conversation with him, not knowing that that stranger is talking to De'Vondre Campbell, and just for conversation's sake, "Hey, have you heard about that player that quit on the 49ers? And Campbell can pretend he's not De'Vondre Campbell and be like, "Oh my God, yeah, I did hear about that. That's crazy." But for the general public, where they do know who you are is on social media, say Twitter, for example. For you to get so triggered easily off of a Twitter mention to then go on a full-on crash-out Twitter rant, Like, I know you went to the University of Minnesota, but based on your actions, going after people on social media for rightfully calling you out, going after former 49er teammates for rightfully calling you out, going after the media for simply doing their jobs, going on TV and giving their takes on your cowardice actions, you are literally blaming everybody but yourself. Clearly, you have an education. Your stat reference page says the University of Minnesota, but you have a severe lack of self-awareness. Talking about you stand on business. No, you don't, Devondre. Because your business as a football player is to do what your coaches ask of you. That is literally your business. You signed a contract, for fudge's sake. Your former teammates that you're going after from San Francisco, George Kittle and Charvarius Ward, they stood on business. You know why? Because they played in the game and did what their coaches asked of them. I stand on business. That's a lie. And you know who else stood on business? The media. They cover sports. You played professional sports and did something that is rarely done. Professional football player who gets paid $5 million quit on his team. Talking about all the media, they should have contacted me first to get my side of the story. For what? You quit. What else is there to talk about? You're a backup linebacker. Who do you think you are? Literally, in the industry that is professional football, literally everybody, and I mean everybody, from the front office to the coaching staff to the other 52 players on that 49ers roster, the media, literally everybody did their jobs. But you, out here crying like you're a victim. Okay. I'm rich and never have to work another day in my life. That may be true, and hopefully that is the case because, and I'm only taking an educated guess here, that you've burnt every bridge imaginable. No team from this point forward will sign you. No one in the sport wants to be associated with you. That is, unless you go off the hinges again on social media, which will be used for content. Why? Because that's how business works. Talking about business. They signed you, San Francisco. They signed you to a 1-year, $5 million deal. 1 year. Why? To be a stopgap. To hold down the fort at linebacker while Dre Greenlaw, one of the linchpins of that San Francisco defense, was rehabbing. Devondre Campbell, you were the temporary fill-in. That whenever Greenlaw gets healthy and is ready to go, that means that it's time for you to take a back seat. Which, according to the San Francisco Chronicle, this would be the second time that you pouted in 2024 for getting benched, as Eric Branch reported that you were not happy when you were benched on the third series for D. Winters in the Week 3 game, which also just happened to be the first game versus the Rams in the season before quitting the second game of the Rams. You were brought to the 49ers to be a stopgap. And if you didn't know that before signing that contract, you only have yourself to blame, which we know you'll never do. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch begged me to come to San Francisco after I got cut by the Green Bay Packers. I seriously doubt that they were begging you to join the 49ers, as they were just simply, I believe, doing their due diligence. And quite frankly, of all the players that might warrant begging for, such as a team that's ready to win right now, evidently Matthew Stafford, his agent, has permission from the Rams to talk to other teams. A team that's ready to win right now would probably beg for Matthew Stafford, or begging for the Chiefs to be dumb enough to offer up Patrick Mahomes in a trade, or for a team to go back in time and offer Lamar Jackson an offer sheet to sign back when he was a restricted free agent. Of all the players that would warrant begging for, I am certain that no team in hell, not even for a millisecond, is thinking about begging for Devondre Campbell, a backup linebacker. Then posted up a follow-up tweet talking about they get mad when they can't successfully troll you. You can't get under my skin. I seriously doubt that people's whole days have been ruined because they can't successfully troll you. The fact is, you brought this attention on yourself for first quitting on your team and then reigniting our memories 2 months later of you quitting on your team. You can't get under my skin. Devondre, I beg to differ. Your Twitter rant literally gives off the "this is getting under my skin" vibes. Your actions have been that of a petulant child, and it doesn't appear that you have the awareness to exercise self-accountability. But you know what? You want to set your career ablaze? You do you. I'm sure Heath Ledger's Joker would be proud.